I'm not an amateur, I'm a podcaster. Welcome everyone to Super Audio Robo Podcast Z. I'm Ark, that's Neff, and this is the show where we recommend you the finest mecha content for your cultural and artistic development.
And we're keeping up that streak because today's episode is another good one. And I say that, but they've all been good ones.
Also, I think I realized after I did that intro is that I should have done it more deadpan like our main character. I should have channeled a bit more of Chris Patton in my line delivery, but whatever. We're talking about Full Metal Panic.
Yeah, if you know, you know, but yeah, it's fine. Yeah, we're talking about Full Metal Panic today. Some of you might know it from, some of you might have heard this show back in the day. And we're going to be talking about it now. So why don't you give us the synopsis for this one, Ark?
Certainly. Sosuke Sagara is a sergeant in the anti-terrorist mercenary outfit called Mithril. His skills as a soldier are such that the top brass assign him a new mission that is of the utmost importance: to provide security detail for a high school girl named Kaname Chidori, while behaving as a high school student himself without her knowing. All while not knowing how to behave in civilian life himself whatsoever. However, the importance of protecting Kaname becomes clear as she is a Whispered, a gifted individual who holds the secrets to scientific black boxes that the terrorist organization Amalgam are after her. And so, both of these two young teenagers will have their school and military lives collide with each other in order to keep Kaname safe.
It's a pretty simple story for something that will have plenty of hijinks in it.
Yeah, it's like you read that and you're like, is this serious? Is this a comedy? Is it both?
Yes. It's all of those. Kind of. It's complicated.
Yeah, it's like, as you'll find, this is actually like kind of a semi-big franchise, I guess you could say, because of just all the confluence of like different like inspirations and like kind of like genres and whatnot. So I guess with that's like a good time as I need to transition into our prehistory, describe like what Full Metal Panic is in more detail and how it came to be. Well, Full Metal Panic is a real robot franchise that began as a light novel written by Shoji Gato and illustrated by Shiki Doji. The entire novel series began in 1998 before eventually concluding in 2011 at 23 volumes. Yep, just like with manga, sometimes even books like these have like the tendency to go on for a really, really long time.
Yeah.
Author schedules are not on the same length of time as animation schedules.
Yeah. I mean, I bet for a book it's probably easier to get that done quicker anyway, at least for a light novel anyways.
I guess depending on the scale of the story, I suppose.
That too.
Yeah. Because it should be noted that despite the original light novel being 23 volumes, 12 of those are actually considered the main story. I'm guessing like the way that it went about it, I think from looking at the schedule, unless I misinterpreted it, is that like the main, it wasn't a case of like the main story volumes were all just done first and then they decided to pad out the remaining like 9 with extra stuff. It's more like those extra volumes were like kind of in between the main story bits, basically to provide like extra bonuses and like side stories and whatnot. There's a lot of story and character stuff in Full Metal Panic, but as you find, it's like there's like a clear delineation between like what is like the bare minimum most important like content versus stuff that is just there to basically like kind of flesh out the world. Because honestly, having like watched a lot of Full Metal Panic and absorbed it all over the years, it's like this is clearly a fleshed out worldview that you can like do a lot of stuff in.
This is a world that was clearly made by someone who put so much thought into it. And even like, man, did you know that mecha nerds are also military nerds too?
And in some cases, like huge like pop culture nerds as well.
That too, yeah.
There'll be a lot of things to kind of like point out about that, but according to the series writer, according to Gato, there is like a theme that's at the center of the story that is like quite important, even next to all the other stuff that kind of fleshes out Full Metal Panic as a series, and that is the concept of boy meets girl. You know, this is a story about like two people like coming together and getting to like know each other better. They emphasize that this story about paramilitary operations with soldiers operating giant robots like Like, yeah, all that shit is cool, but it's like, yeah, it's the same that goes for any, like, really good mecha story. It is like, you're being drawn in with that stuff, but it's like, there's obviously going to be, like, a central kind of, like, human theme that is, like, kind of, like, tying it all together. There were even, like, ideas, I think, initially from what I could gather about, like, the creation of Full Metal Panic that there were intentions for the series to be made incredibly realistic in, like, all aspects.
Oh.
Like, with the fact that there is, like, you know, like an emphasis placed on very real robots and like military organizations, private or otherwise, that they were really wanting to like go all in on the nitty gritty with that stuff. And they do still do that to an extent, but it seems like they made the decision during the creation of it to like tone down some of those aspects and like, especially for the characters. Like, rather than making them so plain and realistic, they try to find ways to make them, like, quote, cooler. Like, as a way to, like, because of this being a light novel and, I guess, realizing, like, what demographic this was going to be advertised to by the publisher, that they tried to make something that would be able to get, like, teenage audiences, like, more invested in the story. I mean, I'm pretty sure a boy meets girl plot at the center of it is, like, a major contributing factor, but I guess it makes sense that they wouldn't want to have all the super realistic details like completely overshadow that aspect.
Yeah, it would be a very different show if we went that direction. It would be way more like dry, I guess. I'm not sure. It'd be a very different vibe from what we got.
Which is why the vibe that Full Metal Panic ultimately went with is to have a lot of comedy in it.
A surprising amount.
Like, all you need to do is just go back to the fucking synopsis I read off. Like, the boy in this boy meets girl scenario is a fucking sergeant.
And they make so many jokes around that, about him just being a deadpan sergeant man who has to live a teenage life. A teenage boy life.
Just no idea how to live it, but he's gonna try, even though he's like just the most straight-laced military man ever. Like, if certain people did not discover, like, as part of the plot that he is actually part of a military organization, they would probably just assume, oh, he is just a military otaku completely out of his mind.
Yeah.
Which, of course, the girl in this case is not like that and is often very frustrated. So, like, their personalities being very opposite, like, plays into kind of like the kind of comedy tropes that like Japan is really fond of just the idea of like of like a comedy duo where like the balance is more focused on like one character who is like extremely absurd, and the other person ends up being the straight man that has to like respond to it and like in a way that is like they're exasperated by it, but that's also part of the comedy. You know, you're laughing because they're like, oh, god damn it.
Yeah, it definitely makes them a manzai duo.
100%. I mean, even the girl Kame, like, even she just whips out a giant paper fan at times. Like, they do not shy away from their from their Japanese stand-up influences.
It's everywhere.
And so, like I mentioned at the start, you know, like so far this is just talking about like the general concept and even the light novel. I swear this is about an anime, and we're going to get to that very, very soon. But even before this story would even be completed, like a few years in after, you know, like it started getting published, you know, the series was getting popular. The popularity was enough that it warranted adapting the story to other mediums. So like in 2000 a manga was created, and then 2 years after that, Full Metal Panic would receive its first anime, the subject of today's episode. It was directed by Koichi Chigara and produced at Studio Gonzo. Yes, that Studio Gonzo for all you anime old heads out there.
We need a modern Studio Gonzo so people can understand what it's like having a studio with so much promise and constantly flop all the time and lose money halfway through.
Although, thankfully, those problems don't really hit this anime nearly as hard as some of their other ones.
No, I feel like this is one of their best efforts.
Yeah, it's just obviously a shame that, this
Yeah.
is early 2000s, so we're still in that DigiPaint jank era. But,
Yeah.
I mean, what can you do?
Yeah, you can't do much about that. It's growing
Yeah.
pains.
But otherwise, the anime covered the first 3 volumes of the light novel across 24 episodes, airing on Japanese TV from January 8th to June 18th, 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just for about half the year. There would be additional anime seasons made after this, but I will say, fortunately, not by Gonzo.
Yeah.
Even though they did not shit the bed on this one, it probably would have happened down the line if they did.
I'm fine that it moved over. It's that Kyoto Animations took over after this first season.
Yep, because they produced the spin-off called Full Metal Panic, Fumoffu. With a question mark after the panic specifically. But they wouldn't just do a spin-off because they would actually continue the story afterwards in the second raid. These 2 anime aired in 2003 and 2005 respectively. And if you take a look at just the animation, I mean, you're like, okay, yeah, this is already a step up. Especially the second raid.
Yeah.
And I mean, this Kyoto Animation, this is still on the precipice before they would, I think, become an even bigger name in anime fan circles the world over with Harui and Lucky Star.
Yeah, and it's important to mention, I think, for now, that that first season, the one we're talking about, is kind of a mix of comedy and serious stuff. Fumoffu and Second Raid are sort of instead of mixing them together, it's like separating them. Fumoffu is the comedy side, Second Raid's the more the serious military side, the action side.
Yeah, it's imagine if you had with Fumoffu, if you wanted to have a Full Metal Panic anime that delved more into the side story element of the original source material.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's very separated from that.
Yeah,
and I mean it at least makes sense with the second raid because as the plot goes on, naturally the stakes have to increase, which is also why the anime adaptations for Full Metal Panic did not stop there. Because after over a decade, 13 fucking years to be exact,
Jesus Christ.
It received another continuation in 2018, this time by Studio Zebek, rest in peace, called Invisible Victory. Like we mentioned with the the first season of the anime, that it covered the first 3 volumes of what is considered the main story. With the second raid and Invisible Victory combined, those basically cover everything in the main story up through volume 9. So that means as of this moment, with all the anime materials that are out there, the main story has been 75% completed, you could say. Took over a decade for it to no longer be stuck at 50%.
Which is fucking wild. Until this recording episode, until I read the document, I didn't know there was a 4th season.
I'm kind of shocked just because it was I would think Full Metal Panic fans would be more on top of it, but no, it's just that length of time was enough, I guess, for a good chunk of them to just kind of fall out of it and then just move on to other things.
Yeah, I think it's just the length of time, the sheer length of time, and I haven't thought about it. I like the show a lot, but I haven't thought about it in a long while, so it kind of slipped my mind.
All of these seasons we would love to talk about in equal detail, but as are the rules for this podcast and what we need to cover, for a big story like this, it's important for us to start at the beginning.
Yeah,
because it would be impossible to talk about the second raid otherwise.
Yeah, this even if though it's a different studio, the second raid still expects you to have watched the first season.
That's basically the history for Full Metal Panic. Again, it's just what started as a light novel that is technically complete now and has oh yeah, I forgot to even write down that I guess that on the light novel side of things, there is actually a sort of sequel light novel series started that was basically, I guess, kind of covering a scenario of I guess you could say it's well after the original series as a where are they now type of thing, showing what the characters are basically I think with the impetus of what if after, what is life like for Sosuke and Kaname after the events of this main story that they grow up and get married.
Oh wow.
And I think that same idea also applies to like the rest of the cast that you see throughout like the entire story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just more of an epilogue thing from the sounds of it. Like,
Yeah, super extended epilogue
yeah.
turning into its own series or something. Yeah, it's like, yeah, Full Metal Panic has gone on for a while.
Yeah, it's a very long running series. I'm sure like they could keep adapting it if they want. They could probably still make a new one.
I mean, I would appreciate it because they would only need to do one more season and then the story is done.
I mean, they did it in I think they did it in a Super Robot War game.
Yeah, pretty sure. I mean, if they don't cover like the end of the story, they're certainly pulling from like later elements in the light novel. I
Yeah.
mean,
Hmm.
like that series has also not shied away from just, like pulling from like manga versions of like specific properties and whatnot. I mean, for fuck's sake, we're literally getting stuff like Godzilla and Jet Jaguar in modern Super Robot Wars games now. Anime's not the only place that they'll pull things from.
They'll pull anything right now that has like anything giant in it.
Yeah, anything tangential
Hmm.
to giant robots.
So why don't we talk about some of those robots in the show?
Yeah, let's talk about our mecha in Full Metal Panic, which just like any type of giant robots that exist in a real robot series, they always gotta have their specific in-universe name associated with them, and those are arm slaves. Oftentimes just shortened to ASs.
Hmm.
Tall, like just barely under 10-meter, like tall robots. I think most often, I think it's like 9 on average for a lot of them.
Hmm.
And I will say, like, if there's one thing that is like stuck with me as far as like another big reason for why I like Full Metal Panic, aside from our like comedy duo dynamics and other hijinks, I absolutely love the mecha design of Full Metal Panic. Like for real robot design specifically, it hits just right for me. From like just like the right type of size, the proportions, the aesthetic qualities of it all. Like it feels very like reminds me a lot in ways of like how the like the labors are in
Hmm.
Pat Labor.
Yeah, I was thinking that they're very much in that same place where they're both kind of similar. They're real in design, kind of. Except like Full Metal Panic is more about like militaristic instead of police procedural.
Yeah, definitely. Because you look at like something like the SV2's labors and like contrast it with like a lot of like the armed slaves, and there's just like you can see a lot of like the same like sort of like rounded, like very humanistic looking kind of like proportions on like all the on the limbs and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like it's it's kind of the sort of thing where it is like you like if you were to do like a live action, like a cheap live action something with Full Metal Panic, it probably wouldn't be that hard to like just have like
Yeah.
a dude in a suit as an armed slave in like a big wide shot.
Oh yeah, you definitely can. I haven't thought about that, but that's true. It's but yeah, I
Yeah.
just love the aesthetics of the designs. They're very just like healing in how they look because I feel like you can get too carried away. Like I'm going to expose myself a little here.
All
I
right.
am not a big fan of most BattleTech designs. I think they lean too hard on the realistic side, and I kind of want a little more to them. Does that make sense?
I guess you're not as big on like the boxy tank
Yeah,
type of like aesthetic that runs through a lot of them.
yeah.
For me, I'm generally less fond of like the of like mecha designs that try to be like a lot more like angular and spiky.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely understand that too.
Like cuz I think of something where it is like especially when it's like paired with like like kind of like the proportions that they do have,
Mm-hmm.
where like it's clearly not one to one with like the skeletal structure of an actual human.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
I definitely prefer. For real robots, it's like, barring something like Votoms, where like the ATs have like a very specific type of size and frame, but like they have like a lot of other appealing aspects. It's like
Yeah.
most other real robot designs I am super fond of. Like in that category is stuff like the Valkyries and Macross, or the Labors, and this as well with the arm slaves. Yeah, because the last thing I fucking want is to have like more robots that just look like nightmare frames.
So why don't we get into like our main? So we talked about the arm slaves. That's our main
Yeah,
robots.
like because like the as far as like arm slaves that you will commonly see, they are definitely going to be the ones that are like part of that are used a lot by Mithril, which is the M9E Gernsback. Like a weird name that you see there, but when you realize that the creators of this franchise are huge fucking nerds, that it extends to like taking the name from like a formative author of sci-fi literature. Yes, that is true.
Hmm.
Yeah, look up Hugo Gernsback.
Yeah, the people who
Yeah.
made this are big fucking nerds. In case it wasn't obvious already.
And pretty much everything we kind of described at the base level about like arm slaves and like what makes them like appealing absolutely applies to this one. Like like just very humanoid looking, gray color, and as far as weapons, this is definitely another thing that I always love whenever giant robots, like real robots specifically, get to do this, where their weapons are literally just like embiggened versions of just regular firearms that any human would use. We have giant robot-sized shotguns, like pump-action
I
shotguns.
kind of love it when the show does that. When it's just like, what if real guns,
Yes,
but bigger?
bigger.
It's like, nope, sorry, we don't get energy swords or like anything like that. No, we get a knife.
We don't get energy swords, but we do get some like fucking techno bullshit that is applied to a different,
Oh,
at least two different units actually after this that I wanted to highlight.
yeah, we do actually. We do.
Because like the Gernsback is very standard. It looks cool on the outside. The inside, the cockpit is like very enclosed, and like you see all like the multifunction displays and shit that look like they came straight out of any military vehicle, like modern military vehicle with the heavy duty like practical electronics and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But then you occasionally get like some wild ass designs, such as the Plan 1051 Behemoth, which is completely bigger than any other arms slave to the point where it acknowledges as much. Yeah, this shit's gonna crush under its own weight, which is why we need to apply like a special like engine called the Lambda driver that like is able to keep it working as long as the pilot is able to concentrate its will into it at all times.
Yeah, there's still some sci-fi bullshit though for all the military nerd stuff.
Yeah. But again, just remember, this is important when it comes to qualifying something as real robot. As long as your universe establishes that these robots are like a regular part of like life and how the world works,
Mm-hmm.
and have like clear, consistent rules behind them, then it's fair game. All right.
Yeah.
Like piloting an armed slave does not require you to be a new type.
Yeah, you can still be a regular person.
And even when it comes to like the weird specialty designed arm slaves like the Behemoth, it's like it's clearly not the norm in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, like in fact, in this anime, there is like one specific story arc where like it is the main focus of that.
Mm-hmm.
That said, there is another unit that makes use of the Lambda driver that is very important and probably like the closest you can point to for, I guess, like a main character mecha, actually. Like, more than even, like, the Gernsback is for, like, our heroes. And that is the ARX-7 Arbalest. This one, oh, man, like,
Yeah.
if we've already gone over how fond we are of, like, the general design aesthetics of, like, how the arm slaves look in this series, I fucking love the Arbalest above all. Where do we even begin with the Arbalest? I guess the main thing is that like it's technically derived from the design of the Gernsback itself. Instead of just being like a uniform gray, though, it is like a kind of like a very light gray, like almost white colored robot with like blue trimmings, a bit closer to more of a defined face, I guess.
Yeah.
The eyes are a lot more obvious, and I think one of the cooler things about it is that on top of still using like the same the same oversized weapons that the other armed slaves use, it has its own like kind of like combat knife, and where it decides to store it is that it's basically held like in its mouth area. I guess you could say, like it has like kind of clamps that kind of hold it in place right in front of like the faceplate of the Arbalest.
I fucking love the Arbalest design. It's got like such a sleek and clean looking look to it, and just it hits that right spot of being realistic while being cool looking.
Yeah, 100%. And much like we talked about with the Behemoth, the Arbalist is also outfitted with the Lambda driver, although it is not needing it to be active at all times for it to be even function. It's just something that, like the pilot needs to like whip out like in occasional circumstances where like it would be particularly useful, like if it needs to like enhance power and like some particular aspect of its attacks that it could do any sort of damage. But it's not just the Lambda driver that it's also equipped with to make it stand out.
Mm-hmm.
It also has an onboard AI.
Yeah.
And as you'll find, even back like when this story was like still in its early days and like, over 20 fucking years ago, even characters in universe acknowledge the fact that trying to have like a personality tied to your computer, like your operating system, is more obnoxious than it helps.
Yeah. It turns out it doesn't actually help at all.
It helps to an extent, but the personality isn't a part of it.
Yeah.
It's just like it'll do its job. You'll just want it to shut up.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, some days I hate like what modern computing has become.
Well, this is still during that era when it might have been good. It's just too bad about the modern era.
Yeah, those are at least the mecha that we could cover. Like, as you would expect for a Real Robot series, because of, like, just the variety of, like, units that ASs can come in, to list them all off would be extremely long-winded. But I at least felt like these three were, like, a good set to narrow down, especially for this season in particular. Because the deeper in you get to the story, there definitely are some other like armed slaves you see, including a successor to the Arbalist itself that definitely get out there in some places.
Yeah.
So let's change gears over to the characters, the other major appeal of this anime in particular. Because we got to talk about Sergeant First Class Sosuke Sagara.
Oh, my precious boy. Let's talk about it.
Yes. Voiced by Tomokazu Seki, and in the English version, because this anime back in the day was picked up by ADV, voiced by Chris Patton, who is definitely of like the older generation of anime dub actors, where you can tell they are from that generation because they don't do dubs for anime anymore, because that's not where the money is.
Yeah.
But admittedly, for his legacy, it's like if you hear his voice anywhere, and you've watched Full Metal Panic dubbed, it's like you immediately pick up, oh, he is Sosuke Sagara. In fact, like, as crazy as this might sound, considering who his Japanese voice actor is, it's like I remember Sosuke more for his English voice than any of Tomokazu Seki's delivery as this character.
Oh,
might sound blasphemous, but that just kind of goes to show how much the English voice absolutely gets the comedy aspect of Sosuke's character down perfectly.
Yeah, I've never watched the show dub, so I'll take your word for it. But hey, good voice acting is always good no matter the language.
Yeah. Again, it kind of ties back to like when we talked about it with Nadeshiko. Yeah. It's like, I think ADV just had like a better penchant for like figuring out how to dub comedy than stuff that was like meant to be a lot more serious or taken straight. Because, I mean, like, it's funny saying that because Sosuke, at least in his mind, is 100% a serious character. His backstory is certainly serious in, like, a very heavy way because he was a child soldier.
Yeah.
He's basically a kid who has never known anything but waging war.
Like, in any other series, he could have been, like, the tragic child soldier character who has to learn to, like, become human. But here he's like, no, he's just that he has a tragic backstory, and now he's stuck trying to be a high schooler.
Yeah, because it's part of the mission. But at least, I mean, like, he's still gonna like have his moments of opening up and actually having like emotional investment as the story goes on. Admittedly, that emotional investment like is not as present in this particular season of the anime compared to how it is in the second raid onward.
Yeah, the way I would also describe Sosuke Sagara is if he was Hiro Yui and he wasn't an insane person as well.
Well, yeah, not being in Gundam Wing is like a huge buff to your mental stability.
He's not trying to blow up his robot every like 10 episodes or something.
And like his onboard AI in the Arbalist, because yes, he does pilot the Arbalist, like that's basically like his designated arms slave a third of the way through the story, at least Al is not going to drive him crazy with like infinite probabilities of what's going to happen in battle and has to like internalize it all in his mind. Fucking Zero System.
Fucking Zero System. I love Gundam Wing. It's
been 30 years since Gundam Wing.
Yeah.
I would always have been hoping to God that someone like interviews like staff at Sunrise that worked on that and just have all their questions be, but why though?
But why? Why did you think this was a good idea? What an insane show.
We are constantly calling back to all sorts of different mecha anime, but it's at least applicable here because there are bits and pieces in Full Metal Panic where they are just like, they've watched the same shit that we have.
Yeah, you absolutely know they were mecha fans as well, that they watched a lot of mecha shows. Right?
I fucking love Sosuke in all of like his like serious silliness, I guess you could say.
I'd say like Sosuke is a very versatile character actually, because he works in like almost any situation he's put in. He's great for comedy moments. He's great for the more serious moments.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like even in some situations where like he's not like like doing any of like his like usual like activities as part of Mithril, like there are still like some feel-good moments that can occasionally happen when he is like in his civilian life, so to speak.
Yeah.
But obviously the reason that he even is a high school student is because he is there to protect one particular individual, whether she wants it or not. And that is our heroine, Kaname Chidori. But everything on the surface indicating that, she's just a normal high school girl, pretty positive a lot of the times, go-getter attitude, occasionally gets angry and does not have time for anyone's bullshit. Be a huge respect.
Yeah.
But this positive blue-haired girl is not so normal as she thinks, because she is what is considered a whispered. This is getting back to some of the other aspects of Full Metal Panic where it is clearly not a very realistic show when you think about it.
Yeah.
What whispereds are, they are essentially gifted individuals who, like, on a subconscious level, like, whether it's like entirely from birth or if it just awakens at some point, like during the time they're growing up, I'm not sure, but they basically have subconsciously planted in their minds like various like scientific concepts, formulas, like black boxes, like basically like the concepts and like the schematics for technology that would otherwise be impossible for the world's brightest minds in this universe to figure out on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like with that the concepts of stuff like the Lambda driver are able to be even like created. Like arm slaves themselves, I think even then, I want to say there was some background detail that like at the earliest inception, arm slave technology was derived from like the stuff that the Whispereds had like as their hidden knowledge. Mm-hmm. But even then, I think it's like there's a lot about the AS technology that feels like real enough and like integrated into the rest of society that it no longer feels as like science fantasy the same way that stuff like the Lambda driver does, where you're basically using like your mind and like concentration of will to like project energy that could be used in like a concentrated attack of some sort. Mm-hmm. And it's because of that knowledge that various like terrorist organizations and independents around the world are all trying to like go after them, and then and you have Mithril on the other side basically trying to prevent that.
Yeah,
like even after like Kaname realizes as much that like that this is kind of like what she is gifted with. Mm-hmm. She's still doing everything she can at the end of the day to like still proceed with her regular high school life like normal.
Yeah.
Even though it means having to deal with Sosuke hovering behind her and like misinterpreting like just regular people things as like an act of aggression or war.
She is very aggro sometimes, but for good reason. And boy, will she hit Sosuke a lot with that big fan of hers.
Yeah, these two are our Japanese manzai comedy duo. Mm-hmm. Like she's just there to like be aggravated by Sosuke's nonsense and like just try to like keep him on a leash whenever he gets out of hand. God, all the crazy shit that fucking Sosuke has done.
Yeah.
That it's Like, yeah, some of them he gets hit for it. I'm thinking of the one moment where, like, he's, like, at an arcade with Kaname and, like, is playing a light gun game, except when when, like, the light gun is, like, quote-unquote out of ammo, he just pulls out his own gun and shoots at the screen.
Oh.
Yeah. Unsurprisingly, she and the arcade operator were not happy with that.
Absolutely not.
Their dynamics together are, like, the soul of Full Metal Panic. It's great. That said, she's not the only Whispered. We got another one, and is actually in a very important position because she is technically Sosuke's boss.
Yeah, somehow.
we get to talk about she may not be first girl and obviously not the one that gets Sosuke in the end, but I could definitely say she's my favorite girl, and that's Talitha Testarossa.
Yes, of the two, yeah. I prefer Talitha as well.
Yeah, Talitha, or, Tessa for short, as, like, people tend to call her. She is the captain of a big submarine base that houses the special response team of Mithril, which Sosuke is a part of. And much like her name, the submarine also has an incredibly fancy title as well, called the Tuatha de Danann. Just call it the TDD for short.
Yeah.
Just to save yourself the trouble if pronunciation is that difficult.
Yeah.
But yes, she's the captain, and she is a very young girl, white hair, tied in a braided ponytail, and because she's the captain, everyone shows their respects for her naturally, but considering her young age and the fact that, like, she is a Whispered and basically was able to get into, like, the position she did because of just her, like, innate talents, like, she does have her own, like, drawbacks as far as, like, her personality and, like, flaws that she tries to overcome, and is usually, like, between Kaname and Tessa, if there's a commonality between the two of them, is that they are both, like, very headstrong female characters in their own way, which is, like, why they are, like, so likable, like, overall in the story. Sosuke may be a lot of the driving action for, like, whatever plot is going on, but, like, neither are really content to just, like, sit back and, like, either be protected in Kaname's case or be giving out orders and just sitting at a safe distance like Tessa.
Yeah, like they still have their own agency, which is nice. And I appreciate that Tessa, they didn't go the Rei Anami route with Tessa and just make her, like, what I mean, like, right?
Yeah, just real kind of, like, stoic and mysterious.
Yeah.
I mean, even with the white hair, I'm like, she could have easily ended up like Ruri.
Oh yeah,
from Nadeshiko. But no, like she has her own clear personality as well. I mean, like, she does speak, like, in a soft voice, but it's not like in a like a very muted or detached kind of way. She has a very important role as captain, but she also doesn't want to be, like, constantly treated like, oh, like, she's the captain, like like in the traditional sense, like not being addressed so constantly in the same way that you would address, like, an old man who is clearly the captain of a ship, because they have, like, years upon years of experience. But like, kind of, like, even whatever, like, character flaws and whatnot that she has, like she is still grateful to be, like, like, in charge of, like, a talented team of individuals that are serving aboard this ship. We got a few of them that we can list off by name, since they appear more often than most of them.
Yeah.
And even then, I think some of the other SRT members, it's like you don't really get as much exposure to them until, like, later volumes, which would be covered in stuff like the second raid and so on. But the other characters we can mention are, two of them are like other AS pilots that are typically teamed up with Sosuke on a lot of his operations. They are Kurse Weber and Melissa Mao. Kurse is a blonde-haired, like, smooth talker that is an expert marksman, and Melissa Mao is a short-haired, tough woman who definitely loves to just get plastered whenever, like, it is her break. That girl drinks so much.
She is a hot mess of a character, and I love her for it.
You could also say Kurse is also, in his own definition, a hot mess of a character, least of all because of his unwanted sexual advances.
Yes. They're all kind of hot messes in a way when you think about it.
Yeah. It's a shame that ADV had to cast Vic Mangina as him.
Ugh.
I'm sorry, Vic Mignogna.
Ugh. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's unfortunate.
You want to know what's crazy?
What?
With particularly with Invisible Victory and the fact that it took that fucking long for it to come out is that even though like a lot like a number of like the voice actors from like the original ADV dubs had obviously moved on from the dubbing scene entirely, while others unfortunately stuck around, is that they were at least willing to come back for the English dub of Invisible Victory, which means, hell yes, Chris Patton is back as Sosuke, followed by, oh no, Vic is back as Kurtz. God damn it.
Oh no. You could have you could have at least, I know you want to be as faithful to the original dub as possible, but you could have made an exception there.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting my timetables mixed up. Was he already known to be a creep even before 2018?
I want to say yes, but that's not a definitive yes.
Maybe if he was known or just not as widespread as far as that information compared to just how accelerated the canceling has of like problematic individuals has gotten.
Yeah.
Like since this decade. Like questionable dub choices aside, they are like the characters themselves are still entertaining in their own rights. I appreciate that. Like, Sosuke obviously has his issues of not really knowing the first thing about how to behave as a quote-unquote normal person. The closest he has as partners that are able to, like, behave more normally in society are two people that have, like, clearly defined flaws in their characters.
Yeah.
Which I find is just extra funny and just that, like, okay, they can help, but not by much.
Yeah. And sometimes they can hinder.
It's just how it is.
It's just how it is.
I mean, if Full Metal Panic ever went like towards the more dry, super realistic route they were initially thinking, I imagine these particular traits would not have been as like prominent. Like in these characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's at least one more from the staff of the Tuatha De Danann that is like worth mentioning, and that's Andre Kalinin. Despite his appearance and stature, you would think he'd be the captain, but no, he's like, he's not the captain of the ship. Instead, he is like kind of like, I think just the way that he is like framed for a lot of the story is that like he has often been seen as like kind of like a father figure, I guess, for Sosuke.
Yeah.
He is an old soldier who met and found Sosuke kind of like during his like child soldier guerrilla warfare days. While he may not have at any point gone out of his way to try to teach him how to be like a well-adjusted individual, he at least found like a proper like purpose that Sosuke could take his talents as a soldier and like use it for something good rather than just, doing horrible shit at like the behest of one particular asshole.
Yeah.
Let's quickly talk about Gowron.
Yeah, let's talk about a real piece of work here.
Like in the overall scope of the story, there are a lot of villains that come their way. Gowron is basically like the first antagonist that sticks around for quite a while and like until the real big bad shows up, is basically like the overarching antagonist for Full Metal Panic.
Yeah.
He is a hardened terrorist who loves doing the awful shit that he does.
And boy, does he love being evil.
You just look at his face, you look at his smirk, like the scars on his face, you know that he is like down to like do some heinous crimes against humanity. Worst of all, like if he has his sights on you, he is always going to like immediately know like what is the one name he can call you that will get under your skin, and it's usually like a intimate or more personal type of nickname that other people like that other actual close friends would know.
Yeah,
like he specifically has a name for Sosuke because of like the history he had, like with him, like when he was a child soldier, and that is Kashim. And you can tell whenever that comes up, Sosuke does not like that at all. Yeah, you are dredging up a part of his past that he does not want like a part of anymore, and unfortunately is going to have to keep contending with it as multiple story arcs in just this one season. I think it's like all the major ones, except for the Behemoth, have him involved in some way.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's persistent.
Yeah, and kind of a creep as well.
Oh, that goes without fucking saying.
Jesus, some of the stuff they have him go get up to is like, oh, big yikes.
Like, obviously, like, the bulk of the discussion is about, like, this first season.
Yeah.
But what we've described with Gowron and how evil he is, that doesn't take away from the fact as well that just about all the other villains after him are about as bad.
Yeah, they are.
We don't need to talk about Gates.
No.
But we've both seen the second raid and know that he has his own unique psychotic tendencies.
Oh yeah, they make some good villains in this show. They make you really hate them.
Yes, they know how to make characters that are utterly despicable.
Mm-hmm.
That's as much of the characters as we're able to get into, because much like the ASs, the human cast is also very diverse in its own way.
Mm-hmm.
We could have talked about like the classmates at Kaname and Sosuke's high school, but they'll get their time in the highlight discussion a bit later on. So until we get to that point, why do we recommend Full Metal Panic?
Yeah, let's go down on like why we think people should watch this.
Well, I think the biggest one is how Full Metal Panic proves time and time again that like just how great what a great mecha anime can be. It's able to be as good as it is by being a confluence of multiple elements beyond just having giant robots, while simultaneously not devaluing the presence of those giant robots.
Yeah.
Like, it is engaging because of all of those things. You come here for the giant robots, but you're staying not just for the robots, but for all of, like, the military technology porn, all the comedy shenanigans, and especially, even extending off, like, the military angle. It's like, there is so much care put into like the setting and worldview of Full Metal Panic. Like even when you are focusing on what the immediate plot is or the character dynamics, you know that it's all taking place in a world that feels like very close to our own, you know, like circa late 90s, early 2000s, you know, with like the level of technology that would, and like warfare tactics that would have been employed at the time. You know, and even like consumer technology as well. Like in the anime, I think it's something that they adjusted because the anime was made in 2002. But like you look at whenever anyone's using a regular operating system, and it's clearly knockoff Windows XP.
There's a lot of stuff that's of the era, like vibe-wise, but it's still like there's a lot of thought that was put into this, which is really nice. Like they definitely take some time to just do some just straight up world building, or just give you like what the flavor of the world is like.
Yeah, and you'll definitely not get tired whenever Sosuke and Kaname are like on screen. Like obviously for the comedy bits, but even when you do get like the brief moments of like them actually getting a bit closer and having a bit more understanding of each other, it's like, you know, it gets back to what Goto was talking about, where like the central theme is boy meets girl, and it is, you know, it's not losing sight of what that theme is like at any point during the story. Yeah, the only thing that's like just real kind of, I guess, frustrating in a sense is just knowing that like when it comes to anime, because that is like the primary thing that we focus on for this podcast, like, you know, if we were more attuned to reading light novels, I'm sure this episode would have been a lot more about just talking about the source material itself since it's completed. But obviously that's not really the case, because when it comes to anime, which is the most likely medium anyone would engage with Full Metal Panic, you don't have the complete story yet as of right now.
Right, yeah.
I say as of right now because I continue to believe that like in another several years we might actually get that final season. But even then, what is here is still worth watching, I would say. Including the fact that this first season is done by Gonzo, of all people. Despite their historical reputation, you know, like, not only is this anime going to be important as far as, like, getting the necessary knowledge prior to, you know, watching the real, like, high point of the series, which is the second raid, you know, and shortly followed after that, Invisible Victory. You know, like, aside from needing all that knowledge, like, just this season alone is still, like, a fun watch by itself.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going to have a good time watching this.
Yeah, you might even feel like a weird sense of comfort just looking back at like this being an early 2000s anime and being like, oh yes, I remember a time when we were when we did not have social media to like like fucking like just dig into anime like negatively whenever there was an off-model frame.
Yeah.
We just accepted it for what it was.
We just accepted it and probably talked about it on forums back when those were a thing.
That goes without saying that obviously once you have like watched this first season, by all means go into the to the follow-up seasons as well. Like, do continue the story even if it's going to be ending at a point where like at the end of Invisible Victory, it'll definitely make you wish that we had that final season right now, because it feels like it is wanting to get you pumped up for like we're going into the end game now. This is it. But there is an elephant in the room.
Yes.
An elephant, or as I like to call, a giant bear-shaped mascot with a funny hat in the room.
Uh-huh.
And that is Fumoffu.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I know you have some thoughts about it.
This podcast, both of us, we agree, it is a funny as fuck anime.
Yes.
Yeah, it is, I think, just one of the best comedies that you could ever fucking watch in this medium. But it is a hard spin-off. Like, we were not kidding earlier. This is like a Full Metal Panic, like, quote-unquote season that decides to just go all in on, like, the side story material and just, like, not bother with, like, the main story. Which, unfortunately, means as well, there is no mecha action to speak of that is included. Not even for comedy. It's good. I enjoyed it. But if someone tries to say to my face it's the best Full Metal Panic, I'm giving them the fucking stink eye. I know exactly what type of anime fan you are, like, if you try and say that shit to me.
Oh, that means you probably didn't watch the other ones, or just, like, have some negative opinions about mecha.
You just have some inherent bias against anything with giant robots, unless it's Evangelion or Code Geass. It's one of those sometimes where it is, like, as much as I love, I like talking about Full Metal Panic, but it's clearly fun to talk about it if it's with, people like you, where, like, there is, like, an actual, like, acknowledgement of the fact that it is, like, a mecha series and that we do like the main story and what it does with its characters. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, by all means, do still watch it anyway. Just don't make it the only Full Metal Panic that you watch, or I'll know.
Yeah, just give them all a watch. They're all worth it.
I'll come into your fucking house in a Bonta-kun costume and break your kneecaps.
Oh, no. Now you really gotta do it. He'll do it.
I'll just stare deep into your eyes with, like, my mascot, just, you'll be seeing nothing but the face of, like, a cartoon mascot bear whose muzzle looks like a pair of testicles.
Oh, no.
I will admit, I kind of hate that I still remember that someone ruined that image for me in Bonta-kun.
Oh, that's what they said.
But it's whatever. It's kind of funny in its own fucked up way. It is kind of funny,
actually. Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
But he's serious. Do it. That's the only reason I'm doing this podcast. Please help. Send help.
Oh, what are you talking about? Yeah. You love Full Metal Panic as it is. You're in no danger.
No, yeah, I do. You're right.
Yeah. So where to watch Full Metal Panic then? Fortunately, I guess, like, if you are still choosing to, like, support, like, official streaming services, Crunchyroll has it. It's all there.
It's all there.
And because it was dubbed by ADV back in the day, that means you have English dub as an option, which, again, kind of like when we were talking about Nadeshiko on an earlier episode. Do consider, at least for some episodes, most definitely the ones that are very comedy-focused, try the ADV dub. Mm-hmm. Because you really need to experience Chris Patton's delivery of Sosuke Sagara and just how perfectly he nails, like, the serious tone in what is an otherwise silly scenario. Otherwise, the same options apply. Find physical copies if you have the money, or sail the high seas.
Whatever you feel most comfortable with. Yeah.
At the very least, you could tell that this is a show that is, like, on the easier side of things to find than others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could definitely. It's a lot more available.
So let's get ready to talk about some spoilers.
Yeah, it's spoiler time, baby. All right, we will.
Mm-hmm.
So go watch the show if you haven't, or you just listen to us talk about the highlight episodes, whatever you want. But we'll see you then.
I can guarantee you with these highlight episodes, they'll definitely be a good way to get you interested without having to go into any of the main plot threads.
Yeah.
You'll see.
You'll see.
All right, then.
All right. So we don't actually have any plot episodes.
No, funny enough, these are what we, back in the day when we used to watch anime, this is what we called filler.
This, oh, I never thought I'd miss filler.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but unlike the shitty kind of filler where like a Shonen Jump manga that has a horrible schedule, like subjects you to filler for an entire calendar year, this is more on the level of like, hey, you want to watch Goku and Piccolo get their driver's license?
Hell yeah, I do. Yeah, this is more on the fun side of that.
Yeah, it's still providing some value, and I can say with the commonality between these two filler episodes is that they give like a nice kind of relaxed look at like the two lives that Sosuke Sagara has to live in this story.
Yeah.
Our first one is his normal life as a soldier in Mithril, as it takes place entirely like within like the like the world of like of the special response team of Mithril on the Tuatha De Danann. The episode after this, meanwhile, will be all about, his civilian life with, like, his high school friends, quote-unquote. So let's start with episode 13, A Cat and the Kittens Rock and Roll. Hell of a title, whatever that means.
It's sure a title, all right.
Oh, yeah, I guess for extra context with this being, filler that's in between main story arcs is that this is directly after we finished, like, the whole Behemoth storyline, where a lot of shit went down, least of all Tessa being, like, on foot, at the scene of the events that were happening with that, and a whole lot of, like, damages and whatever that need to be repaired with, like, the submarine and its equipment. But you can tell, like, starting out is that life as a young captain on this base for a special response team of an anti-terrorist organization is not easy. And it's made even harder when Melissa Mao decides to get under your skin by being a drunk chain-smoking slob. Poor girl just wants to relax in the break room, and waiting for her inside is just Mao splayed out on the couch, no shoes, no socks, a shit ton of cigarettes, and like empty beer cans on the coffee table.
And they get into an argument that escalates so hard.
This is just girls being bitches.
Yeah, it ends up like, and then it ends up with them making a deal. Like, what was it?
Basically, it leads to like a boast being made by Tessa that like she's clearly not doesn't think that she's gonna be forced to back up, and that is the idea that like she can pilot an AS, and so the two decide that they're going to have a duel, a giant robot duel. Which means Tessa's got to learn real fast how to actually pilot one, because with this duel there is a wager, and the loser of the wager is that they're going to have to run around the base naked.
Yeah, that's how far it escalates. And then they're like, because they can't back down, they're like, yeah, that's the deal. Loser has to run around naked. It's like,
and everyone is made fully aware that this is happening as Tessa like writes up the terms of the duel and the wager and posts it publicly. And, as much as Kurz is, like, the resident pervert of this show, which, again, getting back to, like, the English dub choice, I feel is, like, real fortuitous, accidental, like, casting that they got Vic, of all people, to voice them. But, like, even he's kind of put off by the nature of this bet when he kind of reads it all. Whereas, like, he sees Mao just proceeding to, like, keep bragging about it and talking about Tessa behind her back, before Tessa promptly shows up behind her and, like, starts biting into her as well, that it's like, he's finding it really hard to find any, like, perverse pleasure in this when he's seeing that Mao is being, like, real bitchy about the whole thing and just mean-spirited.
Things have really escalated when even, like, the other characters are like, I don't know about that.
People that would be into it feels like that there's something wrong with a bet that feels like an excuse for a grown-ass woman to bully this teenage captain.
Yeah, to just beef with the teenagers. So you're beefing with the teenager.
Oh yeah, and Sosuke's here too as this is happening. He gets a break from his other job as a high school student, which clearly is a relief to Kaname. But unfortunately, he's getting roped into a whole other incident because now Tessa requests him to be his coach, to be her coach, and teach her how to pilot an AS. There's like a brief moment where it is like, where they're like on the beach and like before they're ready to do their training session. Like, it's weird how it's framed. It almost confused me for a moment, and I think this kind of highlights that, oh yeah, there's still some of that Gonzo shit kind of seeping through, where like because of, I guess, how they decided to like quote unquote animate it and like the budget for it, it's unclear whether this actually happened or if he's imagining it. But it's the whole scene where Kaname is like, hey Sosuke, you want to go to the beach? Oh, what's that? You have work? Oh, okay, I guess it can't be helped, and then proceeds to maniacally laugh about it. But I think the idea is either she did say that or he imagines that's what she's saying as he tries to contact her with her phone and is just getting no signal.
Yeah, the vibe I got was that he was just imagining it in his head, but it's a little unclear. Yeah.
It could be imagining, but also I 100% would believe that that is something that Kaname would be thinking at this point in the story.
Yeah,
thank God, a break from that military otaku.
Yeah, I could see her going, oh, yes, finally.
Finally, I get to make my summer memories. Until the next episode where she clearly gets some different memories. So, yeah, that's basically, also funny enough, that's the only time you're going to be seeing Kaname in this entire episode. Everything after this, all Mithril, it's all nothing else. And doesn't change the fact that even though Kaname is not here, Sosuke is the one that is going to be suffering through all this.
Oh, he's going to be... Because
Tessa's doing her best, goddammit, struggling to climb up a rope ladder into the cockpit, that she slips, falls off, lands on Sosuke, pins it to the ground. Like, just the whole time, not only does he also feel this bet is a poor idea, but you don't want to know what shit he could get into if Tessa ends up hurting herself, as well as the potential sexual misunderstandings. It's not just that she's the captain to the staff on the Tuatha De Danann. Informally, all the crew also generally kind of treats her as a princess.
Yeah.
Like, they literally nickname her princess, for that reason, because it's like, yeah, she is both the captain and a very important person that needs to be protected like royalty.
Yeah, she's basically royalty on the ship, is the way to put it.
Yeah, which is why you can tell Sosuke feels so bad about being like roped along into this whole thing, that even after like she falls and pins Sosuke to the ground and is clearly not wanting to get up afterwards, there's a wide shot that I particularly love that shows the M9 on his hands and knees, even though it's like, I'm pretty sure initially it was just kneeling so that it could like give room for the rope ladder to go down. And it's like, the fact that it's on his hands and knees, like doing a dogeza, it's like, it's as if the mecha is also apologizing for this entire episode.
It's really good visual comedy.
Oh, Sosuke, you can't get away from her no matter how much you try and slide on your back. Yeah, she's not going to let go.
God, big.
Until she eventually does get into the cockpit after, like, it took so many attempts of like having to constantly like lower the position of the AS's cockpit so she could even get in to begin with.
Yeah.
But then, even when she activates it, because of how the controls work and like are able to interpret motion based on like the most subtle of like hand and control movements, yeah, she crashes and burns.
Oh, yeah.
Like, fucking ends up head first in the sand underneath the waves. This is only halfway through the episode now, by the way. There is still a duel that needs to happen.
Yeah, we're still out. It's just been a bunch of hijinks, and the hijinks will continue from here on out.
We do get to check back in on Melissa, where she's obviously not training, because in her mind, she's already a trained AS pilot. So she's just continuing to drink herself stupid. Curse is doing his damnedest to be the voice of reason, but she ain't quitting.
We should just bring back hard-drinking adult ladies who are complete hot messes, IMO. That is a genre of character I think we have lost in this modern era.
Of all the things that Ava has, like, poisoned, like, anime tropes with and, like, what people have taken inspiration from, I am 100% in agreement that we need more Misato Katsuragis in our life.
We do. Oh,
she really is. It's just like channeling that energy so hard when she is not on the clock.
What it's like being an adult, I get it.
Yeah,
but yeah, like Melissa has a bit of that energy.
I mean, you could tell even with like that conversation, like when she's drinking, is that like she even acknowledges as much that like she knows how like stubborn and headstrong that Tessa can be about like wanting to prove something, and like it's one of those things where I guess like the reason like she eggs her on as much as she does is a bit of projection, because like she knows that she was just like that when she was her age. But obviously because she's an adult who always runs her mouth after drinking one too many cans, like she just can't help herself.
She absolutely can't. She has like no restraint most of the time.
So the day of the duel has arrived. You know, like after that drunk talk, and after Tessa and Sosuke devise a strategy that like works to her strengths, and like she'll be able to, you know, like, win the duel with ease. You know, because I mean, like, you know, she may not be an AS pilot, but you know, she is a captain and has like some element of like military strategizing. Melissa and Kurtz are waiting on an island where the duel's going to take place, waiting for a while, which as Melissa is getting very impatient the whole time, it prompts Kurtz to ask Melissa if she has ever heard of Miyamoto Musashi. And the fact that she does not realize who that is and assumes that it's the name of a battleship clearly highlights that she is Sasaki Kojiro in this case, and is not going to come out on top.
They couldn't make it any more obvious.
This is the Battle of Ganryu with fucking giant robots that is about to happen.
Yeah.
You all can look that up on your own time if you're not familiar with like your Sengoku era Japanese history, because I sure could get into it. But this podcast would go on way longer as it is.
That's a very different kind of podcast.
Yes. I mean, I'd love to, because it's like, it had been so long since I'd ever watched anything from this season that I had all but forgotten that this analogy to Musashi and Kojiro was actually like the basis of this duel. So when I got back to it, and especially after, you know, absorbing a lot more of like Japanese history in the intervening years, I was like, oh yeah, I see how this works. Oh yeah, Goto is so fucking smart. This goddamn nerd.
For once, he has yeah. I didn't realize like how this is just that story right now, but with mechs.
Because sure enough, Tessa arrives not only late, but with a weaker AS model than was originally planned, and just taunts her briefly. Well, it was like, well, I decided to take a quick rest and have some lunch. And like, it's clearly trying to put Melissa on tilt, and she's gonna keep being on tilt. She is so intent on winning that she actually forgets something very crucial with how this battle is set up, with what they agreed on. They are not fighting with live ammunition. So like, and Sosuke is here as well, basically acting as the judge, never mind the fact that he is clearly biased towards Tessa, since he also helped devise her strategy. That every time Melissa starts bitching about the fact that she thought that she nailed the shot, you know, Sasuke's always quick to be like, incorrect. If that was live ammunition, it would have pierced through the tree and hit her. But since those are paintballs, it did not.
Yeah.
Continue the mission.
Turns out her entire downfall is treat this like they're using a real weapon. It's like, yeah, of course, you're just using paint. It's not gonna you're not gonna hit trees. You're not gonna destroy trees with that.
It's still freaking out Tessa as the fight goes on, because she's kind of realizing, you know, like once the battle's underway, and she realizes that she is inside a very enclosed cockpit of a military weapon. That where she is a target to another person, it does kind of hit her that it's like, oh shit, this is tense. This is what Melissa has to deal with every day. And like, she's almost like losing her cool and about to like kind of like lose the match before, you know, getting encouragement from the totally neutral judge, Sosuke Sagura, that she still goes through with her plan, manages to flashbang Melissa, you know, just kind of like overloading the visual sensors, like after luring her far enough away that she's able to like get behind Melissa, and then just unloads every single paintball round that she has in her weapons. Like, like basically, like pretty much the whole goal was like, you only needed to get like the one hit and that would have counted. But no, she basically acts as a soldier under duress in a life or death battle where like probably the more realistic response would be to like just fucking shoot while the adrenaline is driving you crazy, because if they don't die, you will.
Mm-hmm.
It's rough, but ultimately victory does go to Tessa.
Yeah.
And Melissa is just gonna bitch about the loss, despite acting like she's totally not bitching about it. She really was Kojiro in this situation.
Listen, when you're up against a button masher, you gotta play on their level. You gotta take them seriously still, or else you lose and get salty about it.
Or just block.
Just block.
Just block, dummy.
Block, dummy.
Yeah, it's just I fucking love like just the whole like not complaining she does, just because like Kurtz is just seeing through it like completely.
Yeah.
But as this is the end of the episode, they decide to end on a somewhat heartwarming angle, because you can tell coming out of this, even though Tessa did win, and it was a mock battle, she's still pretty shaken and just like really having a hard time with it. It's one of those things that reminds you that even though she's the captain, she is still a kid. That she just bawls her eyes out, and Melissa, obviously because she lost and knows as much deep down that this is what Tessa's like, even though like she always like has egged her on with her antics. They make up and apologize for how they behaved about this. It's real comforting. Until Kurtz decides to indulge in his pervy behavior right for the very end by asking, hey ladies, what about that wager where the loser has to run a lap naked? Cut to a boot to the face.
God damn it, Kurtz. We could have
fucking idiot.
We could have had a nice moment here until you opened your mouth. Why do you have to be a horny? This is a bad time to be horny.
I guess credit where credit is due to Kurtz. Despite those tendencies, there is enough self-awareness in him where I guess he does know to like either keep a lid on it for long enough, or in some instances, like I'm thinking about the bit where it's the obvious anime scenario of like the girls are in the bath and the boys want to peep in on it. That Kurtz is like, he has the moment where he stops himself briefly to go I could be the gentleman, do the right thing, and not peep in on these girls while they are bathing. But I'm gonna. He's like, he has enough awareness to know that what he's doing is wrong, and it's just gonna go YOLO. Fucking idiot.
Oh, Kurtz.
That was the 13th episode. That's a day in the life of Mithril when they are not dealing with Gowron or any other like serious terrorist threat of some sort. So let's go to episode 14. Is Narashino burning?
An episode about like Sosuke's high school life this time, with high school shenanigans that still has giant mechs involved.
Yeah, and military stuff, because this is their summer break, after all. He doesn't need to be in class. So Kaname obviously is excited about summer break, because that's when you make like some of your best memories as a teenager. Going to the beach, enjoying the sunshine, sweet romance. And instead, she gets roped along into going to Narashino, where the local GSDF that's posted there is holding a festival. Mostly because one of Sosuke's classmates, I forget his full name. I just refer to him as Shinji because that's his given name. Who is an actual military otaku, and naturally like is able to become good friends with Sosuke because they have something in common for once. That they're like, hell yeah, this is the station that like my dad is posted at. He's a secretary there. They're holding the post festival. Let's go. And it's like, on the one hand, you can tell that like Kaname is not into this, but it's her own damn fault for agreeing to come along anyway. She could leave at any point, but she's too stubborn, and especially is too stubborn to admit that like she cares about Sosuke to an extent, which is why that like at this point maybe not so much as a friend, but feeling like that she needs to keep like a rogue animal on a leash.
Yeah.
Because it's like she feels like some amount of responsibility for whatever Sosuke does, that even if it doesn't have to technically involve her, she feel like she has to, because she's going to get embarrassed by association.
Yeah.
It's just so funny too, because again, another one of those like classic Japanese comedy touches is how like her friends like Kyoko and Mizuki are both just saying like very like direct matter-of-fact remarks about, it's like, if you really didn't want to come, then you shouldn't.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you see the golden wash pans, like, just landing on her head and piling up as it's becoming very clear she made a mistake and her pride is preventing her from actually just owning up to it.
It really shows just how far, like, she could have not come, but her pride wouldn't allow it.
Because deep down, she's just soon for fucking Sosuke.
She loves Sosuke. She just doesn't want to admit it.
Yeah, I mean, considering that she's already been involved in like 2 major incidents at this point, one of which directly involved her.
Yeah.
Like, I am not surprised that she now has a better grasp of like who Sosuke is as a person. So yeah, we're at the festival proper. And, like, it's got a lot of, like, the stuff that you would expect at a traditional Japanese festival. Just, like, the main pathway is lined with, like, kiosks and stalls on, like, the sides. There's, like, a mascot going around. But, of course, because of how much they waste little time highlighting that the boys in Narashino are a bunch of losers, that they can't even afford like a proper mascot outfit, and that the main like mascot they have is just in a cardboard like AS cosplay.
God.
And no matter the times or the medium, if there are little kids present, they're going to be rude little shits about the things you like.
There will always be shit kids, no matter what we're talking about.
The dub in this scene is extra funny in how shitty they are, because you can tell one of the kids is straight up just a grown-ass man.
That's so funny. In case...
Just a grown-ass man with as light of a voice as he can manage.
Oh man, that must be so weird sounding. I love it. I love it in cartoons or anime whenever they just get someone who's clearly a grown-up doing a child voice, and it just sounds like so obviously wrong.
Yeah, because you can tell that there was like very little care about it, because it's like, it's just a one-time character for this scene. Who gives a shit? And they're being assholes anyway, so why do we have to be charitable?
We don't need to care for this like 10-second scene.
But yeah, so we get to see at this point, like the groups are actually kind of like split up. Like Sosuke is hanging out with Shinji, obviously because they have the most in common with this location, and as he's being introduced to Shinji's dad, is like, it never gets old seeing him compose himself like he's in the military, no matter who he's talking to. As he introduces himself like with a salute and his full rank and name, before briefly going, I mean, it's nice to meet you. But whatever, at least, I mean, Shinji's dad is the secretary at the base. He doesn't mind. He even acknowledges that he's got good military manners. Yeah. Oh, but if only he knew what kind of chaos this boy causes on a regular basis.
Yeah, we are like 14 episodes in. There's a lot that's happened by now. And he'll cause in the future as well.
But you can at least tell at this point with Shinji's dad introducing himself that it's like, Shinji's acting all embarrassed about the whole thing. And there's like a pretty clear reason for that. He's not on the best of terms with his dad. But we'll do something about that eventually. Meanwhile, let's see how the girls are doing, as an actual AS is just like is serving them food off of a griddle that it is daintily holding in its giant claw hand.
Oh, what? That's a really an extra step. Somebody just said, "No, we're gonna serve all this food on our giant mech. I don't care, like the logistics or how much of a pain it would be. We're doing this."
You would think someone would make a modification to an AS where it just has a griddle built in on as like an apparatus on on like its chest or something.
You'd think so, but no, he's just holding a griddle, like a giant griddle.
Yeah, with like what is the equivalent of like if an actual human giant was holding it, they'd be very carefully holding it between their finger and thumb. It's that kind of image.
Yeah. Okay, so this is where I started. This and a later scene is why I kind of appreciate the world building in this show, because it's such a tiny thing, but it's like, yeah, these are like military robots, but we're using them for like these fun little things as well. This is like how people unwind on their time off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not always. It's used for recreational.
Like, even from my experience, like, I remember when I got to this episode and I was way into it because it's like, cool, this is the giant robot version of like one of those air shows that you go to.
Yeah.
Like, at a military base or like somewhere adjacent to it. Is like the whole idea is that you're seeing like professionals, using like these very like high grade like like specific type of vehicles, and using them for entertainment purposes rather than like their initial like kind of intended purpose, whether it's commercial flights or like waging war in the air or something. Instead, you get to see like the giant robot equivalent of that for like a like for a festival. It's a neat touch. I really like it.
Yeah.
Like reasons I like Pat Labor's like entire world and setting has a lot of overlap with why I like Full Metal Panic's the same.
Because there's a lot of thought about like how everything works and how like these like giant robots integrate into actual society and are like what's it like when they're not being used for like war or like fighting.
I mean we are going to see them like in I guess fighting in a sense later on, yeah. Mostly a competition.
Oh yeah.
But after the girls, like are served by the giant robots, they're clearly having somewhat less fun compared to Shinji and especially Sosuke, because Kaname unfortunately starts getting hit on by some blonde, red shirt, sunglasses wearing douchebag from an SDF post in Nerima. This is the closest you could say this episode's going to get to having a villain.
Our least serious villain, we're probably going to have.
Yeah, a dude that is clearly watched too many Gundam like anime, as you'll find. Mm-hmm. And like most nerds is infatuated with like a certain red-wearing, blonde-haired individual who in one series possibly wears sunglasses. The only way they could have made this like more obvious is if they had him go up to the Narashino like AS pilots and like basically just said, "I came here to laugh at you."
God, yeah.
That's the only thing missing, but they at least make up for it with a different thing near the end of the episode.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I audibly
but regardless, he's the villain because he decides to hit on Kaname, and he is clearly an adult. You fucking creep.
It's like, bro, you're hitting on a fucking high schooler. What is wrong with you? Stop that.
Yeah, aside from that villainy, he is also a villain of a different sort in that he is a very unsportsmanlike individual. Because the whole attraction for this event is, you could basically describe as two teams of armed slaves, one from Narashino, which is like the home base for this festival, and Nerima, competing in giant robot sports festival games. We have relay races, we have tug of war, and we have mecha-sized ping pong. That last one is not a joke. Like, the fucking, like, robot serving hot food off the griddle was just to dull you for, like, your expectations and, like, get you prepared for the fact that we, for a brief moment, have a fucking ping pong anime with giant robots. Which is not to be confused with a giant robot anime, which has an episode where the characters play ping pong. That's another Gonzo production.
Yeah, that's a different thing entirely. Man, I would watch an entire series of mecha ping pongs. How is that nobody made that?
I like ping pong or just like giant robot-sized sports in general.
Yeah, just make us
like this. Yeah, and you remember the episode from Build Fighters where all like at the World Tournament, there's the one gimmick match where like Seiji and Rei have to play like baseball.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
That was good.
That was great. Good. More things like that, please.
Yeah. More robot baseball, please.
But even with all these amazing games, like the bastard we were talking about, who calls himself the Red Dragon of Nerima, but as part of an ongoing joke in this episode, we are going to call him Sir Red Daikon, because everyone keeps mishearing Dragon as Daikon. So he is just a big red radish. He's also a cheating bastard.
Of course he'd be. Of course he'd be, too.
It's a real sad display, too, because it's like, it's the kind of thing where, like, where Red Daikon and his boys are clearly just, like, they're cleaning house the whole time, but, like, it's especially frustrating seeing just how they are, like, extremely rude and unsportsmanlike the whole time, because it's the asshole aces versus the losers with no self-esteem. This is what the whole setup is. Where even when he is blatantly cheating, the Narashino team is like, oh, we can't do anything against that. It's like, bullshit! You should have an actual ref calling the shots on this. And clearly, it's getting... Well, it's certainly getting to Shinji enough that he is like, this is completely unfair, that in the commotion, Sosuke gets involved. Completely slips out when no one else in his friend group notices. pulling one hell of a save for Narashino in the ping pong event, just comes in with an arm slave, basically commandeering the one that was like that has a giant robot-sized apron. And I love the funny detail where they notice that this AS is like moving into the field and is 3 times faster than everyone else, and yet not a single speck of red was on it. Take that, Char.
Damn, got him.
I swear the Gundam references are not going to end here yet.
No.
There's still one more to go.
No, we'll get to that one.
Yeah, because Sosuke pops out of his AS wearing the cardboard mascot outfit that the dude was previously wearing, and basically, I guess, challenges the Red Daikon to fight in the remaining matches. But like clockwork, Kaname puts 2 and 2 together about what's going on, that even with Sosuke wearing his disguise and no one seems to notice, he still gets his shit wrecked by her giant paper fan.
Girl just tosses it with like perfect accuracy.
Yeah, it's like, you think for something that would look so light, it's apparently with enough force that it knocks him off of the shoulder of his AS, and then in like perfect comedy framing, walks into the background really far in, grabs Sosuke by the neck, drags his ass across the ground, going into the foreground, unchanging camera angle the entire time, and you can feel, oh, she is mad.
She is so pissed. Her perfect summary memory is getting ruined further and further.
It's getting more ruined than it already was when she stepped in front of the gate.
Yeah.
There is so much comedy shit that happens in this one like scene where she is talking to him that is like, it is so hard to keep track half the time. Mm-hmm. All I know is that Mizuki this entire episode has been incredibly fucking desperate. That not only did she try to hit on Red Daikon and get completely like ghosted, like not even acknowledged as actually speaking to him, that she turns her attention to the AS mascot, not realizing that it's actually Sosuke.
Wow.
Like offering her like a cold refreshing beverage of orange tangerine, to which Shinji pops in the frame, you mean tambourine? And Kyoko's like, boo, Shinji, bad, no cookie for you. And it's like, the fuck is this comedy routine? What are we doing?
What is going on here?
But kind of like you mentioned as well, like Mizuki's not the only one that's desperate.
Yeah, Red Daikon is, god damn it, man. Every scene with it's like, ugh.
Listening to the dub is not that much better, I'm going to say.
I bet.
He at least does a very good job of, like, making you realize that this character is slimy as fuck. Because what happens following this argument is that Shinji's dad and, like, the rest of the Narashino team, you know, because they noticed how good Sosuke, who they don't know is Sosuke, was at like piloting that AS, they invite him over to the hangar to ask him to like be the captain for their team and help lead them to victory. Mm-hmm. Kaname is still upset that like he is involved in this. At this point, I would say very unreasonably so, because it's everyone, including Shinji, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to say everyone except Kaname is a dumb as bricks motherfucker that does not seem to put 2 and 2 together who this mascot is.
Huh? Oh,
which is why she decides to just take Red Daikon's invitation to darkness by joining his team to help them like win the competition. You can at least tell during the whole time that it's like she's still not swayed one way or the other by Red Daikon's personality.
Yeah.
You just know that she is willing to compromise with this guy because it'll get her to her actual goal, which is teaching Sosuke a fucking lesson.
Yeah, she just wants to beat up Sosuke. That's her reason. she'll team.
Yep.
This is the closest she'll get to a villain arc.
Yeah, but which does not go very well. But at least, kind of like as the setup draws to an end, it's like when Sosuke gets roped into to being like the leader for like the Narashino team. It's basically around this point actually where you get like some big character moments for Shinji, because you actually get more of a reason for like why the relationship with his dad is so strained, and that is more a case of like he wants to feel proud about the fact that like his dad gets to like his dad's in the military and gets to work with ASs, that he wants his dad to be an AS pilot and a good one so he can brag about it to his friends, you know? Like something where it is like, yeah, my family is awesome. They get to do this. But unfortunately, like, his dad was never that good at it. Just because of the fact that the name is a coincidence.
Yeah.
I can't help but still laugh either way that this is a Shinji who's going, I hate you, Dad.
It feels like an unintentional like coincidence in a way, but just still funny.
Yeah. He's not even voiced by Spike Spencer in the ADV dub. That's a completely different character from earlier. He voices the kid that pilots Behemoth, the one who's like a psychotically like obsessive compulsive dude, where like his first introduction is at like immigration inspection, and like as he's getting asked all these questions, the only thing he cares about is him internally thinking, your tie, fix your goddamn tie. Again, we're not kidding with just how diverse this cast is. There's a lot of weirdos.
It's a good cast of weirdos. We love them.
So for the finale of this competition at the festival, we have a cavalry battle. Again, just kind of leaning into the fact that, oh yeah, these are just the exact same shits that you would see at like a high school like sports festival, you know?
Yeah.
That kind of competition. So you have, it is amazing that they're all able to support the weight like this. Just having like a bunch of, like you do in an actual cavalry battle, like 3 to 4 people holding up one as the leader riding on top. So it's just 4 robots holding up another robot. How it's able to work like this is a miracle.
It's truly a miracle of engineering.
Yeah, so at least on Narima's side, you know, the captain, with how these ASs are set up, the AS6, I forgot to mention, is that, you know, they're all 2-seaters. So, you know, which again leads to a lot of familiarity with how like a lot of like military vehicles would be, you know, like attack choppers or tanks and whatnot. So naturally, like the Red Daikon has Kaname in his cockpit, which hints at a very unpleasant smell that she's not fond of. But meanwhile, at least on the Narashino side, Shinji and his dad are piloting the same unit, while Sosuke and like another grunt are like piloting another one. And so that's kind of how the team composition is at the moment. Sosuke is very calm throughout this and helpful, making very wise speeches about kind of like the nature of teamwork and how strategy is formed in the heat of battle and all this stuff. But really, at the end of it all, it's like, on top of like helping them win for the sake of their pride, you also know that he's doing all this because he realized there's an opportunity to kind of like mend like the relationship between Shinji and his dad.
Yeah.
But like as the fight goes on and Kaname is still having to deal with like the uncomfortableness of sharing the same robot as Red Daikon, the only thing that's keeping her focused and pushing through all this is the thought of getting to punch Sosuke. Like, all it takes is Red Daikon giving her the most like simple and intuitive instruction on how to like, you know, use an arm slave to like, you know, do a punching motion of some sort. And all he says is, it's quite simple. Just imagine you're punching someone you really, really hate.
And that's enough for her.
And that's how you get to see that there are some wild fucking punches, like crazy arcs being thrown that, like, the rest of, like, the Narashino team initially thinks, like, is that really the captain? That doesn't even look like his movements. And even Sosuke is kind of clueless to that. Is like, that's the extra funny part. Is like, we're getting the non-violent version of the ending fight of 0080, where it is like where our 2 main lovebirds do not know that they are on opposite sides in this moment, but at least none of them are going to die.
Yeah, no, they're just going to get a little bruises and a few scraps, but that's it.
And it goes far enough that that Narima's Red Daikon is going to prove once and for all that he is the biggest mark for Zeon. On top of being his own douchey version of Char, he orders his team to pull a famed strategy from the Black Tri-Stars playbook.
It's called
man.
It's called the Red Stream attack. You are not being subtle. You are slapping that reference on my face. God damn it.
Like, this clearly hit me differently, considering that I finally got around to watching the original Mobile Suit Gundam, like, years and years after this.
Yeah.
That, obviously, I had, like, no context for what this move was. And for a brief moment, I had to double check and make sure that I was not confusing it for like a different tactical maneuver, because I seem to recall there at least being like, similarly devastating moves that like Ramba Ral and his like goof troop were capable of. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's what I like to call them. Yeah. It's funny.
It's funny. It's good. It's appropriate.
But no, I was correct. It was the Black Tri-Stars. And looking it up on like the Gundam Wiki, I was shocked to realize how much people fucking love the Black Tri-Stars and this one goddamn move.
Oh my!
Both within Gundam and in the rest of Japanese pop culture.
And it's like okay, it's a brief tangent, but it's so funny watching the original series and just seeing how much like actual screen time they get. And it's like, with the amount of screen time, it's incredible that they became so iconic for the amount they actually get in the show.
So many things about 0079 are things that you can point to immediately because they have been memed to shit already. All right, like everything. Like everything from This Is No Zaku to reminding all Australians that Sydney becomes a fucking crater.
Yeah.
But no one, I feel like, outside Japan has the mind to try and run into the ground the idea that, oh man, the Black Tri-Stars was so cool. Jet Stream Attack, motherfuckers.
Yeah, that's all Japan. They love that shit.
Yeah, because it's like so much of Gundam has like done their own versions of it in like subsequent series. Mm-hmm. This anime does an homage to it. And even a fucking episode of Pad Labor, the TV anime, also has a character literally doing a leapfrog motion and shouting, I think also shouting Jet Stream Attack, even though it's not the full Jet Stream Attack. It's just someone doing like a part of that entire maneuver to try and like poke at you, be like, remember this? And I'm like, Yes, I can see why, Sunrise. You made Gundam. You also animated this. That's fun. Thank you.
I get it. You're just patting yourself on the back right now.
I also think as well that the Red Stream Attack goes about as well as it does even in this, where it's like it does whiff at the last minute on the first try, that even when they try to do it a second time, it's already too late. Because victory is seized for Narashino mainly at the hand of like the AS that's piloted by Shinji and his dad, because I forgot to put this down in the notes, but what happens at the very, very start of this episode is that you see Shinji's dad in his office building a model kit of the AS6, which is the SDF's like model of choice for Arms Slave. And on top of the fact that like he kind of has a brief moment of nerding out over it, going, it's like, wow, they even replicated like the the structural weakness of the real thing. Well, when it's a model made by Ben Presto, you can only expect the best. And it's funny where it's like, okay, I get it. I know you didn't want to use the name Bandai for copyright reasons, but also calling it Ben Presto is funny because you are just referring to a company that used to exist at that time.
It's still funny.
But the point of bringing that back up is that Shinji's dad realizes that is a structural flaw that all units have, both on their side and in Nerima's. So he's just going to exploit that and like hit the red Daikon's like right arm of his AS at just the right angle that it comes clean off, and then bam, they win the match.
They did it.
Narashino's pride is preserved. They thank their nameless stranger that no one ever will know the identity of except for Kaname, because she is just embarrassed at losing this. I do feel like if there was one thing that was like missing from this particular episode, is that we really did need to see a scene of Kaname just like punching the red Daikon, like just knock his fucking lights out.
I wish that's how this episode ended. That would have made it perfect.
Yeah, but instead it's like you see Sosuke and friends on the train going back home. All the girls are exhausted, Kaname especially. Sosuke still stoic as ever, and Shinji, out of all of them, looking especially happy, bringing home like a model kit of the AS6 that he's going to build in his own time. And you get like just a very nice talk between the two of them, just kind of like reaffirming for Shinji that it was like, it wasn't just you or your dad that did good. It was everyone on the team. They're all people that you can be proud of. Someone got to make some positive summer memories at the end of this.
It just wasn't Kaname.
No sweet romance, no beaches, nothing. And it's all gonna be back to serious plot after this, funny enough, because it'll just be, Sosuke's gonna have to go away on assignment. I fucking love like if your anime is going to have next episode previews.
Yeah.
I definitely like it when it is one of two things. One, have it be like it is in this show where it is the characters talking about what's going to happen, but in a very non-serious way. Or better yet, with at least when it comes to like one of the anime that I'm watching right now, Princession Orchestra, where it's not really an episode preview, it's more like an omake comedy sequence that has nothing to do with anything. It's just funny gag, and then next time episode title, and that's it.
That's how I prefer it. Just don't, as long as you're not spoiling the next episode on me, like so many do.
Yeah, so it's real funny. When you get the next episode preview where it's like, okay, we're going back to the main story. Sosuke is like, saying like, well, I have to leave for a job. And like Konami is like trying to treat this as normal as possible. It's like, what kind of job? An assassination. Okay. It's like just that sense of like, she's still not wanting to believe that this is what he does on a regular basis. Oh, Konami. You'll grow to love this military maniac soon enough and actually be honest about it. What an anime. Yeah, it's like, I know, again, obviously this was a case of we picked the filler episodes because it was easy enough to have like 2 standalone ones that we could talk about like within our time frame. But obviously it's not to say that like the main story arcs that happen don't have anything of merit. It's just that it would feel weird to talk about them since they all tend to be longer than 3 episodes. Yeah. That's kind of outside the scope of what we would really be wanting to talk about.
Yeah, like in a way we are focusing on like one aspect of the series, but it's still a part we really enjoy. And it's like the other aspects are still good on their own. They would just take a lot more work to like find a way to talk about them, I guess.
And at least in these 2 episodes we talked about, they still have robots in them.
They do. That's the important thing. They still have robots.
At the very least, I could see how, like, these episodes in particular, 14 especially, I think, feels a lot like the proto-inspiration or motivation for Kyoto Animation to do Fumoffu. Because, again, there literally is nothing to do with what's going on in the main plot. It's just the characters getting up to shit that is totally within their character and personalities. That, like, obviously, if you like what these episodes have, it makes sense. Of course, you would get a kick out of Fumoffu. Like I think about this episode and like how, you know, Sosuke ends up being like kind of like an important figure that helps out a team that is basically in the slumps. Fumoffu basically has like a similar kind of setup where Sosuke has to like basically train the rugby team, and he is like channeling Full Metal Jacket super fucking hard. He is going full drill sergeant, and just like, I think especially when you listen to it in the dub, because again, ADV back then knew how to like localized comedy for like anime is like, you could tell straight up, they are pulling this shit almost word for word from Arlie Ermey's like character. It is so on point.
Yeah, it's great.
That he even like it manages to affect the rugby team, that they start acting like real talking real personal about their rugby balls.
Oh my god. I think the only thing that would have made Fumoffu even better in my eyes if it actually had scenes with the mechs in it. Then it would just be the perfect comedy anime.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Then I would be a bit more understanding of people liking it the most out of all Full Metal Panic. Because I would be tempted to say the same.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I just look at it and I'm like, this is a really funny anime, possibly one of the funniest I've watched. But it's not mecha.
It's not mecha. It's just slice of...
Them's the breaks.
Yeah, it's just a comedy anime.
If it's not mecha or it's not magical girls, then what's the fucking point? Or third category, directly based off of like an old anime or manga property that existed in the Showa era.
Yeah. Watching these episodes again, it kind of reminded me, I actually really like this show. It just, even if the first season is like a little rocky, it's still a good time.
I definitely felt that like it was easy to become more critical of like of this anime when you distanced yourself away from it after a certain amount of time, just because of the fact that like once you've experienced the Gonzo production, it's really hard to forget it or mistake it for like another studio's work.
Yeah.
Like that's how infamous they are that we're talking about. But you kind of go back through this, Like, and you realize, oh wait, this is regardless of the studio's reputation, it's at least punching above its weight on that angle, and like it's still giving you everything you need about the source material. You know, like at least up through like the first 3 volumes, which would have been around at the time. It's still really good, like on its own, but and also works as a great stepping stone for in like exploring the rest of the of the franchise.
Yeah.
Obviously, like if you're just sticking with only anime, you're not going to get the full story. But thankfully, I mean, if you want to read the source, the light novels are there. If for whatever reason you want something in between, like a manga, because you need pictures, I do know that there is a specific manga called Full Metal Panic Sigma, which actually, funny enough, it starts like pretty much like at the beginning of where Second Raid begins. Like, and it goes from there actually to the end of the main story. If you're curious as well about like wanting to see where the rest of the story goes without, while also having like more of the visuals that you like regarding, like the characters or the AS designs and just have that be more prominent, like the manga, like Sigma is basically like kind of like the best option you have for that at the moment.
Yeah, you still have you still have avenues to experience the story even now if you want to go like the extra mile. Maybe someday we'll get like the conclusion to the story in anime form. I'm still holding out hope.
I mean, there was 13-year gap between the Second Raid and Invisible Victory. Yeah. What's another 13 more?
What's another 13 years?
Although I guess in this case, like 7 of those years have already passed. So yeah, I guess what's another 6 more? Hopefully we survive this decade that we can eventually get that like final season, whatever it might be. Especially when it's just like I keep thinking about how it ended, and it's like I forget actually, because with how we've talked about it, you never did. Did you ever get around to watching Invisible Victory? I don't think you did.
I don't think I have. I have not.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, like there are still like some good moments, even though it is like very clearly meant to be like the dark chapter of the entire saga. Like it's where the stakes raise real high, and that like it kind of pushes back the heroes in a way where it's like they're kind of on the ropes for a while. But there's at least 2 things that always stick out in my mind, like, significantly. One is probably, like, one of the greatest moments of, like, on-screen cursing from, like, a character in this story. And it is from Tessa, of all things.
Oh, shit.
Where, like, she's basically calling out, like on the phone with, like, the actual main antagonist's, like, messenger boy. Like, after they basically did a sting operation to try and capture him. And essentially just, like, because of how smug he is being the entire time, and like she, like on the phone, as the rest of like the Tuatha De Danann staff is behind her, just starts yelling at her about being a piece of shit and hating like these arrogant pricks and that they can go fuck themselves. And you can say the same to my brother, that it's like everyone's stunned silent, but they're like, but deep down they're like, oh yeah, go off, queen.
That's incredible. I need to watch this actually now. Holy shit.
Yeah. And then the other is like more of a musical choice, like near the end, when it's like the season ends and you feel like that part of the story is out of the way and they're getting ready for like the end game, is that you get the opening theme from the first season playing over the credits.
Oh.
And like as far as openings go, I guess I'll say, just to try and wrap this up best we can because we've been going on for quite a while. I have a special fondness for that opening, just for the kind of mood that it instills in me. Like the kind of thing that I feel like I need to listen to whenever I need to, like, something to cheer me up. And having that be the thing to kind of cheer me up after a season that has like a lot of dark moments and the feeling of like the band's back together, we're ready to end this, is like, god damn it, that is such a good way to end this season. Also, I can't keep waiting for the end anymore. Give it to me,
please.
Goto, please work something out with another studio. I know Zebek's dead. I don't know if Kyoto like Animation thinks they're too good to return to it anymore or not. I'm not sure. Maybe you could get lucky and Sunrise will work with you on this. I'm not sure. They're working with Macross now.
Just do anything, please.
Please. Oh, what a series. Thanks for being on, F, as always.
Thank you for having me on.
Great to talk about this and share it with everyone listening at home. You all can tune in next time when we talk about our last manga out of 3 that we're going to be talking about on this podcast, and for very good reason, because it's preferable to the anime.
Yeah, you'll find out next week. So we'll see you all then.